This video is titled, Why Most AAA Games Have No Soul, which is quite a statement. Okay, guys, do the YouTube video intro. So you guys are all going to be on YouTube, so be on your best or worst behavior. That's up to you. Just try not to say awful things. And here we go. This is going to be a video about why most AAA games have no soul. What does that mean? I don't know if I agree with this one just based on the title, but I'm sure let's give him a chance to explain it. It is by Going Indie. So let's check out what he means. Why most AAA games have no soul. It does say most, not all. Let's see.
Studios we loved. How can they make some of the... What is happening to the studios we loved? How can they make some of the greatest games of all time, then turn around and just make disappointment after disappointment? It felt like the end of AAA games, but then Elden Ring came out.
True, FromSoft is bae. FromSoft hasn't missed yet, right? Like they haven't missed. Just always good games, always fair monetization. They don't miss, man. Yet, dude.
Why is Elden Ring such a breath of fresh air when most other AAA games feel copy-pasted? And why did this game cause so much controversy?
Elden Ring is Game of the Year? The game is man.
To answer these questions, we first need to understand that when Elden Ring came out, the game defied everyone's expectation. Elden Ring sold 12 million copies in the first 2 weeks. Even Miyazaki, the mastermind behind Elden Ring, was surprised by the success. And to put the sales into context, Elden Ring at release was on pace to sell the same amount of copies as some of the best-selling open-world games of the last decade. GTA 5, Skyrim, and Breath of the Wild. I mean, if you really think about it, Elden Ring should not.
Did you guys, how many people in chat played Elden Ring? How many of you guys played Elden Ring in chat? Yes, yeah, you, yep, I did. Best game you ever played the crap out of it. Yes. You killed a werewolf thing. Yes, Dark Souls clone. It's a Dark Souls open world game. That's literally what it is. It's made by the makers of Dark Souls, and the premise of it was Dark Souls but open world, and they knocked it out of the park, right? They just absolutely nailed it. It's a Dark Souls game but open world instead of linear like the rest of the Dark Souls. Your Steam Deck loves it. You saw vids and could not, but you couldn't give a flying toss about it. Yeah. Dark Souls made a Dark Souls game that isn't titled Dark Souls. What a knockoff! Yeah. Negative, but I really like Dark Souls. Heard it was like a copy of it. It was a sequel. It was a continuation of the Souls franchise by the people that make Dark Souls. So I don't know how you call it a knockoff. That's like saying Elder Scrolls Online is a knockoff of Elder Scrolls games. It's the MMO version of Elder Scrolls games, but I wouldn't call it a knockoff, right? Diablo 2 was a knockoff of Diablo 1. I guess. People are negative about it for no reason. I think that this game wasn't for everyone, right? This game riles up a lot of emotions for people because it's really hard. It's really hard. And there's some people that that's just not for them. You know, like dying to one boss 30 times in a row and then finally beating it. For some people, that's not fun. Like I love the heck out of this game, and I relish those victories when they finally came, you know?
Have been performing as well as these other games. Don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is an incredible game, but most FromSoft games are pretty niche and usually target a more hardcore and advanced player base.
It's true. This was the easiest FromSoft game so far. Except for like Millennia, right? The one boss in this game that was probably arguably one of the hardest in any of this like franchise. But the rest of the game, it was kind of choose your own difficulty. You could choose to grind out levels to make the content easier, be kind of overpowered for it. You could choose to find really powerful kind of OP weapon combinations. Sekiro was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Sekiro. Sekiro was I played through Sekiro. I thought it was tough. I was surprised when everyone else kind of came to the conclusion that it was the hardest one of all the bunch, but it was tough. It was hard for sure. Elden Ring gave you so many tools to succeed. Yeah, it does. It lets you kind of choose your own difficulty. It does, especially with the summons. There's summons in this game that can practically solve the game for you. You know, I did a summon free playthrough of it because the summons felt like it was too easy. It wasn't Dark Souls difficulty anymore with summons out. Losing to Millennia 20 times in a row to beat her gave you such satisfaction. Nice, man.
Nature, FromSoft games shouldn't sell as much as Zelda or GTA. But this time, Elden Ring did. Why? What was different about Elden Ring, and what set it apart from other FromSoft games? The answer?
Let me do this. It's looking kind of blurry here.
Answer? Nothing really. Yes, Elden Ring was open world, so unlike other Souls games, you could avoid certain bosses and areas. Yes, the lore was some of the best I'd ever seen in a game. The world was so immersive that I don't think I could ever find everything in the mysterious world of the lands between. Seriously, Elden Ring is a masterpiece. Go play this game. But I would argue that almost every FromSoft game is a masterpiece too. And just like the other Souls games, Elden Ring still targets a hardcore player base, and the gameplay is still punishing as hell. So why then is Elden Ring capturing a much larger chunk of the gaming market? There is a huge demand for high quality AAA games and not much of a supply.
Why would you guys say Dark Souls captures such an audience? Like, if you had to pick a reason for Dark Souls success, what would you say it is? Because it defies every industry trend that like exists, right? Everything in the gaming industry is going towards make things easier, make it easier, make it easier, make it so easy anybody could do it. Right? That's where the rest of the industry is going. And it's the one game that gives you a challenge. It's the one game where you beat a boss and you're actually excited about it because you weren't sure you were going to beat it. Right? That, at least for me, that's why I enjoy it. It's the only game where at the end of it, it's the only franchise where at the end, you know, when you talk to somebody else that got to the end, like, you're almost brothers in arms, right? You both went through hell together. You had the same experiences on the same exact difficulty. And like, you know, like, oh, you remember that one fight? Oh yeah, I remember that one fight, dude. I spent 4 hours on that fight. And you have that kind of like moment. Yeah. And then there was the fact that it was just like, it was like someone here saying the music. Oh man, it had a fantastic soundtrack. It just had that FromSoft polish to it, which on top of the style of gameplay was really unique. Yeah, but it is odd that it succeeds so much in an industry that is constantly catering to people that don't like challenging content, people that don't like the feeling of failing one time, and that becomes a quit moment for them. And the more and more games are designed for that one player. Yeah, anytime, Jedi. It's something different and actually makes you work for it. Most people don't want to work for anything, which is why so many games are targeting casuals these days, just like all those rages threads for me, at least, to Diablo 3. Well, and in defense of the people that don't like Dark Souls games, right? So in defense of the casual out there, right? There were days like when I remember playing Dark Souls 3 and I'd come home from work. And I was like, today's not a Dark Souls 3 day. I'm too tired, dude. I just got home from driving home in traffic. I worked a long day. I am tired. And I don't feel like having my face curb stomped for 2 hours against the first boss I run into, man. Today is a boot up Diablo and grind greater rifts kind of day. You know what I mean? Where I can just push buttons and things melt, you know. I didn't want that, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, like not every day is a Dark Souls day. And I think for a lot of people, it comes down to like that they just don't want that stress that comes with a Dark Souls game, that feeling of failure. The industry follows each other in a bizarre death spiral, though. Anything different has a chance of grabbing attention. Yeah, and I think that they've benefited from that heavily, right? By kind of like doing what nobody else dares to do, make a game that's actually challenging. And then when people demand they make it easier, they say, no, it's not. This isn't supposed to be for everyone. Yeah.
Why? I mean, imagine you're at a restaurant and you have a hankering for some steak, but they're out of stock. All they have left is some burnt scraps of cooked steak they can shovel onto a plate, or you can get a delicious honey-baked ham with a sweet honey drizzle. So although you wanted a steak, you choose the honey-baked ham because the steak scraps just aren't edible. This is the AAA game market we are in right now. Millions of gamers looking at the piss-poor options, praying to Gabe, the god of Steam, to give them anything fun and exciting. It doesn't matter what genre, as long as it's good. Just give us something edible and satisfying. So when Elden Ring came out and the world saw how amazing this game was, people who were originally intimidated by Souls games looked at Elden Ring and said, screw it.
How many of you was Elden Ring your first Dark Souls game? How many of you guys was Elden Ring your first Dark Souls? Anybody? You? Dude, that's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, it brought a lot of people into the franchise for sure. Like, I think a lot of people that have been scared of the franchise prior, and then just like the unreal level of hype around this game got a lot of people to kind of take that first stab at it. And they realize, like, yeah, it's hard, but it's not impossible hard. It's hard, but even I could do it hard. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people, they underestimate their own ability to do a game like Dark Souls or Sekiro or Elden Ring. It just takes getting familiar with the controls, kind of learning the mechanic that keeps you alive, whether it's dodge rolling or parrying or whatever it is in that Souls game. Demon Souls was your first, that feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, it's a rush, man. It's hard, but not VMA hard. Dude. If you had a PS, you would buy Demon Souls. Yeah, Demon Souls was your first. Dark Souls 2 made you quit Souls games until Elden Ring. Really? Dark Souls 2. Yeah. I played through that one as well. My first one was Bloodborne. And then after I played Bloodborne, I went back and played other Dark Souls games that came before it. And then every one that came since.
Let's try it out. I got nothing else to play. So like the guy choosing the ham over the burnt steak, I would argue that Elden Ring's meteoric success is not only a byproduct of how good the game is, but because there's such a small supply of good AAA titles right now. Elden Ring really is the best option on the menu. However, like every industry, there will be people who hate or love something purely because of its popularity. And man, do we have a few in the gaming industry. But what's surprising this time, many of the people who hate Elden Ring are developers at other studios, infuriated by Elden Ring's success.
Same developer who said, Elden Ring's UX is so bad that I can only imagine FromSoft's devs smoking at their desks and using CRT monitors.
I guess these developers felt that the game violated certain tenets of game development, and by violating these rules of development, Elden Ring.
So if you kind of, there were some developers, and it probably got inflated to sound like there was a lot of them when there was a handful, that felt like the UI was underwhelming for the game because it doesn't hold your hand like, say, what's that one studio that makes tons of open world games, and you open your map and it tells you where everything is before you've been there. It says, here's where this place is. Yeah, Ubisoft. Yeah, the Ubisoft formula, right? Where you open the map and it's like, okay, here's the boss, here's the quest, here's the gem, here's the thing. And you just open your map and you just know, you just run to each location and you find all the things. Whereas in Elden Ring, it didn't tell you any of that, right? Once you got more familiar with the map and you started learning how to read it, there was definite clues to the locations of certain things on the map, but there was a lot of it that you just had to find, just had to run into. And it was a massive world, and it's entirely possible on your first playthrough you miss half of it. Yeah. The clean UI was your favorite part. Yeah. First 30 hours in Elden Ring, I wanted to cry. The next 70 were a lot easier after you find out how to play the game. It's hard if you play without armor or other mechanics like summoning or power leveling. Yeah, it is. That was the great thing about Elden Ring, is that you could do things like you could go power level and make the game easier. You could summon to make the game easier. You could use certain spells or weapon combinations, right? It was a choose your own difficulty adventure, which was kind of a first for the franchise. Other ones had better and worse weapon combinations, but they didn't have nearly the degree of difficulty swings that came with them that Elden Ring allowed for, you know? But yeah, so that's why there was like this attack against the UI, is because the game it wasn't telling you where things were, right?
Didn't deserve its success. Why would these devs be so angry about Elden Ring's success? Who cares if Elden Ring didn't follow the rules of game development? It's not like Elden Ring's success affects them. Well, mostly. I can see why developers at Guerrilla Games were upset. Elden Ring released only 1 week after Horizon Forbidden West, so you...
Oh yeah, I feel like Horizon Forbidden West would have done a lot better. They would have done a lot better. But they are the ones that chose to launch underneath of Elden Ring, which was obviously one of the most anticipated games of the decade. You could tell by the hype, you could tell, plus it's a FromSoft game, massively popular games. And they're just like, yeah, we're not going to budge, right? Like we kind of see ZOS doing that with going head to head with Diablo 4 in June. And you're like, ZOS, turn the wheel, man. You don't have to play chicken with this game. And so Horizon Zero Dawn came out and no one played it. Everyone was like, wait, that came out? I didn't even know, right? It's you kind of like, well, you guys chose this,
Could say that Elden Ring overshadowed the hype around Horizon, so Horizon possibly didn't perform as expected. The reason is petty, and in no way Elden Ring's fault, but at least I can see where the Guerrilla devs' frustration comes from. But why were Ubisoft devs so upset? None of their sales were affected by the release of Elden Ring. Now, remember, these were only a few people and not the whole studio who were angry at Elden Ring. However, the response from gamers to not only these devs, but Ubisoft as a whole showed us something really interesting. Gamers are tired of playing the same thing.
True.
They're tired of the formulaic nature of Ubisoft in most.
True. The last Ubisoft game I played was probably Black Flag, because the next Assassin's Creed that came out was a copy paste almost, new story, but same exact game, same mechanics as the one that was before that, and the one after that. And I kind of knew, like, before I'd even played the next Ubisoft title, I knew what it was going to be. I knew exactly what it was going to be. And I was like, I've already done it. I kind of, they've really got to shake it up more, really.
Other AAA games.
Sure, yeah. It has a satisfying shooter-looter game loop, the graphics are great, the mechanics are well-tuned and executed, and the story's acceptable.
Bummer?
Yeah! It's exactly the same as all other Ubisoft games. It's just another copy-paste.
You see, when every user interface, every store, and every game looks relatively the same, we notice.
And then they started putting XP boosters, apparently. I didn't know this because I hadn't been playing their games anymore, but they're putting XP boosters inside the game. So you can skip playing the game that you just paid for. A single player game with an XP booster.
It's like
Amazing.
hotel art. Each piece of art is theoretically different, but somehow feels and functions exactly the same. So when the first few Assassin's Creed games came out, they felt new and exciting. Running around the Holy Land of Rome, leaping off buildings, sneaking or hiding in hay bales, it was unique.
It was
But
cool.
Now, I can barely tell the difference between Assassin's Creed gameplay and every other Ubisoft game. Ubisoft thinks if they just change the era and location of each game, we won't notice. I mean, one has knives and one has guns, right? But just like hotel art, they may look different, they don't feel any different. It's the same game with a new coat of paint. This reason is why Ubisoft devs reacted the way they did. They have been taught.
So we just watched another video that said that they lost like $800 million last year. Ubisoft. As one, they didn't come out with a game, that hurts, and so I think that was a large part of it. So I think it sounded worse than it was, but it sounds like they're not doing that great. This whole copy pasting thing it's not working out as well as they hoped.
That to make a successful game, you need to follow a formula. So when a studio like FromSoftware makes Elden Ring without the formula and it's incredibly successful, it infuriates developers who have.
Another thing that was great about Elden Ring, how much money did you have to spend on the game to enjoy it after you bought it? How much money could you spend on the game to enjoy it after you bought it? Nothing. There was no paid DLCs. There still isn't. There was no microtransactions. There was no DLC zones that you had to pay extra to have access to. It was that game. That game had secret zones that were bigger than entire full box price games. Just like a secret zone that half the player base never found. And it was bigger. Is this why Far Cry is on sale for 85% off? Yeah. Yeah, you want more? There's a DLC. There is a DLC coming. And I'm calling it right now. The DLC for this game is going to be bigger than most full box price games. It's just going to be massive. Like, it is. It's gonna be this, like a normal studio would have released this as an entire title, whatever this DLC ends up being. It's just gonna be that massive.
had their creativity restricted and pushed into a box. Now, these devs who criticize FromSoft should take full responsibility for what they said in a public forum. However, I also blame AAA studios like Ubisoft for forcing their teams to create unimaginative copycats of their previous 10 games. We can get mad at a few devs all we want, but the real problem comes from the Ubisoft's executives choosing to be formulaic. But why are the leaders of Ubisoft and other AAA studios hellbent on producing the same?
Because it's safe. Risk averse. It made money last time, make it again. It'll make money again. True. But obviously for a limited time only, that you can only copy paste for so long. Same in movies. Yeah, they're doing the same thing in the movies. We see it in the movie industry also, like copy pasting movies, rebooting franchises over and over. Made money once before. Why make something new when you could make something old? Yeah. Okay, I'm definitely going to get Elden Rings a day in court. You've sold me to play through. Hey, yeah, dude, try it out. Try it out. Just be ready for it to be hard at first. And then as soon as you get in the groove of the battle system, once it clicks, once you realize like, oh, you dodge, but you don't dodge too early, you don't dodge too late, you dodge at the right moment and you take no damage. And like you work your way through the game. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And take advantage, if you're new to the franchise, take advantage of those summons. Make it easier on yourself. No shame in it. I feel the same way with many Eastern MMOs, copy paste. Yeah, the MMO industry definitely suffers from this as well. There's a lot of them that come out and you just see who made it and you already know what it's going to be, right? You're just like, or you see where it's coming from and you have a good idea what it's going to be. The formula that they are very familiar with over there. And yeah, it's true. And then they all come out and it's like a, lightning strike. It just poof, and then it's gone. And you're like, whatever happened to that one MMO? Oh, there's like 10 players playing it on Steam right now. Yeah. Go figure.
Same type of game. Why force your devs to work on the 100th Assassin's Creed when they want to work on something new and exciting? The answer? Stability and money. This may be obvious to everyone, but milking an IP over and over again is the easiest way to make money as an entertainment company. It's the reason why we've had a new Call of Duty 19 years in a row, and also why 2022's top 20 best-selling games are all existing IP or sequels, except for Elden Ring. Seriously, look at this. Elden Ring.
I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that it's not a sequel or an existing IP. Elden Ring is open world Dark Souls. So that makes it even more surprising though. Literally every game on this list is it came from something that came before it. You know what I mean? It came from another franchise, or it came from the same franchise. It's a sequel or whatever. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna say that Elden Ring it's more or less a Dark Souls game. I mean, it really is. It's a Dark Souls game, but it's open world instead of linear.
Ring is the only game on here that is a new IP. What's even more crazy about this list is that 2 of the top 20 games.
Does 1 through 3 have a sequential story? No. It's a lot like Final Fantasy's franchise, where each one, there's things that they have in common, but they're not really sequential stories. They don't continue where the other one left off or anything like that.
Games were Call of Duty games, and 3 of them were sports sequels, which are notorious for being the exact same as their predecessor. We can complain about these games being soulless copycats all we want, but we're the ones buying these soulless games in droves. And for companies to come up with brand new games and IP is risky, so studios will make sequels for as long as possible if we keep buying them. So I don't ever see studios not making sequels.
Yeah, I mean, they keep making them because people keep buying them. True. And as long as they're a good sequel, it works out for everybody. It works out. Technically, a new IP, same studio. Yeah, FromSoft has that reputation where people are buying the developer. They're not buying the game at this point, right? Where you see a FromSoft game coming out and you already kind of know, okay, it's probably going to be the real test of that formula is going to be their new one, their Armored Core or whatever it's called that's coming out. And it's not a Souls-like, it's something completely different, but it's made by FromSoft. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that sells and how it lives up to the name that they've developed for themselves at this point. That's a real big deviation from their normal formula. You can see Elden Ring as a sequel, but they are damn good ones, I believe it or not. As long as the game is amazing, people will buy it. Yeah. Armored Core is also pre-existing IP. It is. Yeah, this is Armored Core like 5 or 6 or something ridiculous. Yeah. Old Armored Cores were actually hard. Really? Okay, so maybe this one it'll follow that Souls or that FromSoft formula of creating like challenging and rewarding content. Okay.
When we buy them year after year. That said, there is a negative effect on your brand when you don't release something new or innovative. Think about it. What is one of your favorite games? Remember when that game was released and how you felt about the developer of that game. Pretty good, right? Then think about that specific developer's most recent games. How do those new games compare with your favorite game? And how do you feel about that developer now? Probably not great. For me, it was Blizzard and Warcraft 3. This game made Blizzard...
Dude, I remember this like yesterday. I put so many hours into this game. So many hours into Warcraft 3. And actually before it, Diablo 2. And before that, StarCraft and Warcraft 2. Blizzard was another company that couldn't miss for a long time in the early 2000s. And man, I hope they get a return to form with Diablo 4. But I put I put so many hours into this game.
My favorite developer, and I wouldn't allow
he's going to talk about it
to be said about them.
He's going to talk about Diablo Immortal. Oh, there it is. There it is. It popped on the screen. I was going to say, because he was saying a second ago, think of a developer that you loved. And I was thinking of Diablo 2 and think of the most recent game they made. And then I thought of Diablo Immortal. And I was like, yeah, it is like that sometimes, you know? And you're just kind of hoping that Immortal was the one-off as opposed to it was what's the quote? It's the exception rather than the rule, you know? Fingers crossed.
But now, Blizzard has released cash grab after cash grab, not to mention everything else they have done. And I can't help but look at Blizzard with disappointment. A bad game happens sometimes, but Blizzard hasn't made a good game since 2016 with Overwatch. Not to mention they somehow butchered Warcraft 3 with the release of Reforged.
I disagree with that statement. Warcraft 3 Reforged was awful. D2 Resurrection was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Diablo 2 Resurrected, that remaster is one of the best remasters that any game company's ever done. So I would say D2R was amazing. Immortal, obviously, pay to win mobile game. So it's not my thing at all. But so I think they've got a more recent W than 2016. D2R was very good. Yeah, D2R is very good. Yeah. Overwatch was good. Dude, I played the crap out of Overwatch. It just didn't evolve enough. And I played Overwatch 2 recently and I had a fun time with it. But, you know, I can only put so many hours into a first-person shooter before it starts to feel a little bit repetitive for me personally. You know, there's just not enough deviation from the game to game.
Forged. I just can't imagine defending Blizzard anymore. The Blizzard brand has fallen from one of the greatest video game developers to a company that is compared to EA. But as we saw with Blizzard in the beginning, the opposite occurs when you release something new that just blows people away, like Elden Ring. Gamers will have
Elden Ring is good,
even if the game isn't perfect. I mean, look at one of the biggest controversies on YouTube, featuring the Act Man and Quantum TV.
This guy made a video saying like Elden Ring sucks or something, and he hates everyone that plays Elden Ring. So Act Man made a video about like the worst take in Elden Ring.
The drama from these Elden Ring videos escalated to way more controversial stuff, like bigotry, copyright, demonetization, and the Act Man trending as the #1 story on Twitter. But all this stemmed from arguments about Elden Ring. Why? Because FromSoft had gained some huge brownie points for releasing pure art. And like any extravagant piece of art, people will have visceral reactions, both positive.
Yeah, it's just like in high school, you knew that one friend that if there was a band that everybody loved, they had to hate it. If there was a movie everyone liked, they had to hate it. Or if there was a TV show that everyone thought was like unanimously a good TV show, they're like, no, it's garbage. I hate that TV show, right? There's just people like that out there that just genuinely are, they're genuinely like, they're the anti-meta, right? They can't stand anything that everybody else loves. And if they like it, then their automatic instinct is to just Yeah, the contrarians. Yeah, the professional haters. They, their first instinct is to constantly, if someone says something's amazing, their first instinct is like, no, wait. I need to find a reason why it's not, negative Nancy's. Yeah. And so I think there was a lot of those people where they saw how insanely popular Elden Ring was. And so without even playing it or trying it, their first instinct was to hate it. It's like, no, it can't be that good. It's garbage. I don't know why, because I haven't played it yet, but I just know it's just garbage. Yeah.
And negative, which is also why people get so angry when you change the story and lore of video games with TV shows like Halo or The Witcher. I mean,
dude, that reminds me of The Witcher. They're doing a Witcher remaster. Is that happening in UE5 or something? Or was that Fever Dream? There's a Witcher remaster coming. That should be good. Is it in UE5?
Witcher 3 was a beloved game and a piece of art to so many people, not to mention the comics. So when you mess up the story and lore in the show, the community isn't toxic when they react negatively. They are passionately asking for you to respect that piece of art as they do. Now, all this said, I don't just want to bash on AAA studios and walk away. True constructive criticism should have ideas for improvement, not just ranting. So if I had the opportunity to consult a AAA studio, I would suggest the Pareto principle to be applied company-wide. This principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, is the observation that roughly 80% of consequences come from 20% of causes. One company effectively...
Oh, dude. You don't have to teach, you don't have to teach game developers about this principle. They already know about it. They apply it to income. 80% of their money comes from 20% of the players.
Applying this technique, creativity. Let your developers work part-time on something they are passionate about and be amazed at what they'll create. I'm not saying stop making sequels. As we saw, AAA studios make a lot of money from sequels, and sequels aren't always a bad thing. I'm stoked for a Hollow Knight 2, and I pray for a Warcraft 4. However, for AAA studios to be profitable while garnering the love and support of the gaming community, AAA studios should look at Elden Ring as an example to stop making formulaic games while applying Pareto's principle to let their developers...
Yeah, to the guy in the video, good luck finding that. Yeah, 20% of their time spent on not the game that's making the money right now. That's a big ask for sure. But I think rather than maybe... It's just not being afraid to try the other things, right? I don't think you need 20% of your time to think of new ideas. I think that the new ideas are there. They're just too afraid to try them, right? Like, game developers have millions of ideas. They don't need 20% of their day dedicated to thinking of new ones. They have them. They think of them, and then they don't employ them because they're terrified that they might not work, right? So I think it's less about devoting more time to thinking of new ideas and just devote more time to actually trying the ideas that you've thought of. Implement them in the game.
Conceptualize and build masterpieces we all will appreciate, like Elden Ring. Hey, thanks to everyone who joined our Discord and submitted their favorite indie games for this week's video. The indie game our community voted as their favorite for this video was Inmost, made by Hidden Layer Games. It's a puzzle platform game and is currently being sold on multiple platforms. So go check it out and join our Discord to let us know what game we should feature next.
Nice. That was a really good video. That was a really good video. I like this. Oh yeah, Ubisoft. Here's the video. Here's the link. It is again by Going Indie. Give that a thumbs up. Great video. Actually, I really enjoyed that. I think his idea was okay, but the whole conclusion is wrong. Elden Ring is not trying something new. They took a well-established formula and adapted it to an open world style, and it was a big hit. That's really all that happened there. I agree with you. I don't think that, I think Elden Ring is more the byproduct of them. The thing that they're doing different, the thing that they're willing to do is make a difficult open world game where they don't tell you where everything is on the map. You kind of have to look into the nuances of the game to see what they're doing differently in Elden Ring from like, you have to compare it rather than comparing it to like other Dark Souls games compared to other open world games. And they don't hold your hand, and they are okay. No game would be okay with you just missing 75% of the game in your playthrough. But in Elden Ring, they're like, you know what? If it happens, it happens. Yeah, we spent millions of dollars making that content, but if you play through it in a way where you just miss it, All right, you know, or you could play through it in a way where you do all 100% of it. It's really up to you. It is a very, very open worldy, very not holding your hand, make you work for every victory. All of those things are very different from. Those are all different things. That's already Dark Souls formula. I don't think so. I don't think that that's totally true, because they weren't making open world games. That was a new take on open world. No one's really doing that. Do you have a one bar? Yeah, man. I updated it today. Grass. Updated it today, dude. Magden. There you go. I don't think the games market needs a revolution. The problem is there's no evolution. Look at a game type, see what players like. And I think that I don't think that there's a significant problem in the games market, period. Like some of the best games I've ever played have been coming out over the last decade. And yeah, there's some studios that are floundering a little bit, but while we're still getting brand new, really innovative games, you know, like Valheim, or we're getting amazing games like Elden Ring. I think it's kind of like a doomer take to say that like the video games industry is just, it's all going to hell, right? It's all just falling apart. It's like a super doomer boomer kind of take. I don't think that's totally true. Are some of our favorite developers having this happen? Yes. You know, for developers, it's like you either live long enough to like evolve, or you see yourself die making the same game 800 times. I think it's one of the reasons that Bethesda has kind of survived so well is their willingness to constantly add new IPs to their rotation, and it stops them from there's enough time between each Elder Scrolls game that there is time for significant evolution in the gameplay, in the feel, and everything. So it's like going from, you know, Oblivion to Skyrim. It's a very different feel for an open world game from one to the next, but it still had that Bethesda formula. Same with Rockstar. Yeah, same with Rockstar using inserting new IPs, going from GTA to Red Dead, you know. And yeah, it's the downside is you have to wait a lot longer before you get one of your favorite IPs again. But when it comes back, it was worth the wait. I think the problem is they get full of themselves and they don't give enough weight to what players are saying. Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's this is just like, this is the byproduct of age, right? And experience. And sometimes experience is a double-edged sword, because you fall back on experience saying it worked before, it'll work again, right? You have that experience, you know that it worked before, and you feel that it'll work again because you know you've done it, it worked, and right. But it's a double-edged sword because everybody else is like, no, we need something new. We've done this before, but you're like, no, it worked before, it'll work again, right? And so that experience kind of becomes a double-edged sword as you successfully thrive off of one idea for a long time. Fallout 76 burned Bethesda though. 76 was you know, I always say like every developer gets a pass. I think Fallout 76 was Bethesda's pass, right? Diablo Immortal will be Blizzard's pass. Cyberpunk's original launch will be Project CD Red's pass, right? Everybody gets a pass. They all put out like a really bad game, and it's when it becomes a trend, then it stops being like a pass. But I give every developer like a pass, because well, one, making games is hard, and there's a lot of things that goes into those decisions, and so like you just hope that it doesn't become the norm for the studio. You hope it was a bad idea, and now they learned that it was a bad idea. No Man's Sky, yeah, No Man's Sky came out, it was awful, but they didn't give up on it. There's a lot of games that do that. Yeah. Was Todd behind Fallout 76? I imagine. Yeah, I think Fallout 76 was somebody at the top's idea to capitalize on the PUBG, right? The battleground market that was, what are those things called? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the names. that everybody was making at the time. Fortnite, PUBG, everything was battle royale. Thank you, dude. I couldn't think of the word battle royale. Everybody was trying to make a battle royale, and so then they're like, Fallout 76 battle royale, perfect. Okay, cool. Except that's not what Bethesda fans are into. They're not really into battle royales, and then also they put it into an engine that just was not designed for that, right? They fixed Cyberpunk. Took 76. It took years. Yeah, they did fix Cyberpunk. It is. It's rated incredibly well on Steam now. So they really turned it around. They didn't give up on it, and that's because it was a good studio that made a mistake. Right? It was a good studio that bit off more than they could chew and tried to meet a deadline they should have never tried to meet, and tried to release a game on a platform they shouldn't have never released it on, being last gen. And it was just too much. It was too ambitious. New World was pretty rough start, and they're making changes. Yeah, New World's done a fantastic job of turning that game around. Absolutely. Nuclear Winter was the battle royale. Was it? I wonder what BioWare's redeeming game will be. BioWare's redeeming game? Fallout Infinite was amazing. I mean, no, not Fallout Infinite. Oh my gosh, BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite was amazing. That was a good game. How long ago was that now, though? I guess it's been a while. I'm not sure what they've released since then. You enjoyed the Battle Royale for 76? Yeah, of course. There's going to be some people that did. But at launch, it was a mess, right? It's another game that they put a lot of work into improving it. And I hear from a lot of people that Fallout 76 is a lot better now than it used to be. A lot of people have said it's a fun game now, but at launch, like so many of these other games at launch, it was a game that shouldn't have been released. It's still a mess, is it? BioShock is 2K. Oh, BioShock is 2K? Oh, all right. Okay. Man, I guess I just associated the names. Thoughts on a new Mass Effect game? That would be awesome. Are they making one? Yeah, I don't know. But I think that I do understand what he's saying here, though, that like a lot of them are getting pretty copy paste still, and it's making room for new companies to come up with new ideas and do great things. The one exception he's using Elden Ring as the one exception, and like was mentioned in chat, Elden Ring is only partly a new idea. They took a very successful idea and made it open world. And but they did do open world in a way that nobody else is doing open world. Nobody else is making a difficult open world game. Usually by the end of an open world game, your character is God and you have trivialized it, right? I'm feeling a bit nervous about the upcoming Dragon Age 4. I hope it's good, man. I hope it's good. Yeah. I enjoyed Anthem, but can also easily admit that it was a mess. It was sad. It had a lot of potential. Yeah, I think Anthem was a great idea that was never finished. Just like, it wasn't that the idea was bad. It was that they just didn't bother to finish it. Did you see the PAX DEI MMO? I did not. No. Anyone remember when StarCraft Ghost was supposed to come out? Yes, dude, I was so excited for that. Yeah, I was so excited for all the that spin-off franchises from StarCraft that they were talking about launching and booting up and stuff like that. I'd still play, dude. I'd still want them to come out with a StarCraft MMO. That'd be sick, man. Space MMO, StarCraft universe. Let's go. Protoss, Terran, Zerg. Could be a lot of fun. Don't trust EA for most games. Always seem to be disappointed in the recent games. Yeah, I mean, I think that they're like a developer that's perfectly capable of producing a good game, but then they're so bent on monetizing it to the point where it's just not fun for most people. They definitely released Anthem, hoping to get away with releasing an unfinished product, but there wasn't enough meat in that title. Yeah, I think they're like, it's hopefully good enough, and then we'll just patch it afterwards. And unfortunately, that destroyed the game. Love Elden Ring's customization. Most games, by the end, everyone's in the same close to. That's true. That's true. I had a ton of friends play through Elden Ring, and not a single one of them used the same build as somebody else. There was so much viable build diversity. There were certainly some that were cheesier than others, but they did do a really good job of making sure that you could go through that game with so many different loadouts. So many different. I agree 100%. EA makes good games and then ruins it with monetization. Yeah. pretty much the gaming industry today. Released today, patch tomorrow. Yeah, it is. That's another. That could be a whole video in itself. Is this taking this kind of abuse of the fact that you can fix the game after launch that started to happen, where you know it's not ready, you know it shouldn't be released, but you got that deadline and you don't want to push it back. Your first clear on Elden Ring was using claws. Nice, man. Yeah, claws. There was so many good weapons in that game. So many unique weapons. And kind of different takes on it. But yeah, that's the game. Why most AAA games have no soul. Going indie. Great video. So check it out.